Combine the insane pace of Emerald with the mid-game control and tempo of Steel, and you have a really strong deck. This is Emerald Midrange, and welcome to my guide. If you're not used to these type of videos, here is everything in the video with timestamps, so if you're looking for anything in particular, then there you go. Keycards of this deck, we have Kuzco. This can really be any aggressive green card that quests for free really. Just want to show off how quick you can quest up to 20. When a card quests for free, it doesn't take long for you to get to that magic number of 20. I've got Kuzco here just because he's mainly the most annoying one. He has wards, so once you play him, it's a high chance he's going to get quest for free and not get removed. But you know, this can be any aggressive green card. Just trying to show you that Emerald has the insane tempo and pace that many other inks can't keep up with. So we're going to support that with the Steel kind of removal game plan. I've got Tinkerbell here. She's one of the best 6-drops, in my opinion, one of the best cards in the game, especially if you get that turn 4 shift off. So she does a lot of damage. She does 1 damage to every opposing character when she's played, and then when she banishes a character, she'll do 2 more damage to a chosen character of your choice. This is really good for keeping that mid-game board control and supporting the board that you've already established with Emerald. And then once we kind of get to the later stages of the game, we can use bounce cards such as Mother Knows Best and Genie to send big characters back to your opponent's hand. Mother Knows Best you can use early on in the game as well to buy a lot of tempo, but Genie's going to win you those games when your opponent spends all their ink on one big card and you just bounce it back. It buys you a whole turn in the late game, and yeah, that will just definitely just get you a free turn and you'll get lots of quest points off of that, and it should secure the win. And then the advantage of this deck over a lot of other Emerald decks is that you have access to a whole new world. Now this allows you to discard your hand and draw 7 cards, which can just refill the gas tank basically. You keep going and then you play a whole new world and then you just go again. Obviously your opponent does also get 7 cards to react to what you do, but you know, it's mainly just to find those late game Genies or Kuzcos in the aggro matchups. So this is the deck list. This is the list from the Lorcana HQ tournament, and I recently played in my Road to Rank 1, episode 2. So yeah, we see kind of, you know, just an average Emerald aggro package of Flynn Rider, Cheshire Cats, Hans, Kuzco, Tinkerbells, Genies, Mother Knows Best. And yeah, so you can basically just want to turn your cards sideways, play them, turn them cards sideways, quest for a lot, and that's the game plan. But like I say, we do have the Steel package, so we've got 3 of the tiny tactician Tinkerbells, which can shift into the bigger Tinkerbells, which can do a lot of ping damage. We have 3 of the Steel Hans, 13th in line. Whenever he quests, he deals 1 damage, so it's good for just removing those smaller units that are threatening your board as well, just to kind of like remove anything from stopping you from questing basically. And yeah, we do have Beast Mirror as well. Beast Mirror is kind of there for if you don't find Whole New World, you can just kind of keep digging for extra cards, especially in an aggro list, you're going to use your cards pretty quickly. So yeah, overall pretty solid list. So this is the main combo. It revolves around a tiny tactician Tinkerbell. So turn 4 is going to be a huge turn for this deck. So you kind of want to analyze what your game plan is. If you're playing kind of like on the back foot and you want to control the board a bit more, then you're going to be looking for the turn 4 shift into Tinkerbell, and then you want to control the board that way. Just for using a lot of pings and attacking with the Tinkerbell, you should be able to gain control of the board and then slowly get your win. Or you can turn up the pace and go for an aggressive win and try and just you know, be really quick. So what you can do is you can sing Mother Knows Best on turn 4. So on turn 3 you play a free drop, so it can be any free drop, it doesn't have to be the Tinkerbell, it can be the Cheshire Cat or the Kristoff. You sing Mother Knows Best and then you play a big 4 drop, and then basically you have removed their whole turn and you've enabled a bigger 4 drop, so they're kind of like 2 turns behind, so it's going to take a lot for them to come back, and from that point on it's just a really huge power swing. Even if you're in front, the power you have over them just skyrockets. So definitely be on the lookout for that combo on turn 4, and be on the lookout for a turn 4 shift as well. So for the Mulligan, for an aggro deck, kind of mid-range deck, you're going to want to be looking for a turn 1, 2 and 3 play. I like to keep Mother Knows Best, especially against Steel. Denying the turn 4 Tinkerbell shift from the opponent is really strong, so I always like to keep Mother Knows Best in my starting hand. But yeah, so you can look for any 1, 2 or 3 drops. Just make sure that you've got your planned out turns 1, 2 and 3. So as you can see, we've got a pretty good matchup spread. I've got 3 in favourable, so I'll start there. We've got Emerald in favourable, just because they want to be very aggressive, and normally they lose to a lot of board wipes and stuff. So because we have Steel, we kind of can match the aggression as well as clearing their board while we're doing that. So we should have a really easy time against Emeralds, just clearing their board, but doing the same thing as them, so we can race them and slow them down. And then we got Sapphire. Sapphire wants to ramp. Basically, you just want to be really quick in this matchup. If they can ramp up, then you're going to be in trouble. But by the time they do ramp up and play a big card, you should have like so many like quest points that like one Kuzco should win you the game that they can't get rid of. And then even if they do ramp up and play a big card, you can just bounce it with Genie or Mother Knows Best and just keep doing that. So yeah, that would really slow them down. And then Amber's another one of those really aggressive inks, so you just kind of want to play like Steel control against that while racing it with the Emerald cards. You should have a fair enough time. Against Amethyst, they do have some annoying cards such as like Rafiki to deal with you, but they rely on a lot of card draw, so basically you kind of just want to go really quick again against Amethyst. The only kind of matchups where you do want to play control is against like the Emerald and the Amber, but against Amethyst they are going to try to draw a lot of cards and play for card advantage, so you just need to go really quick and win the game before they can set up that insane amount of card advantage that Amethyst can generate. And then for Ruby, you kind of want to do the same. You're against Be Prepared basically. You're on like a 7-turn clock. If you can like get to like a really strong point in the game before they Be Prepared, then you should be good. But if they can Be Prepared before, you know, you've really done much, then they should win. I was close to putting this one in unfavorable, but I thought I'd put it in even anyway, just because I feel like you have a really good chance to beat them before they can use Be Prepared, which is kind of the main goal in that matchup. And then in unfavorable, we've got Steel. So obviously we have Steel in our deck as well, but a generic Steel deck is going to be more like oriented on board control, whereas we're kind of half aggro, half board control. So a full Steel deck will definitely just like kind of do the board control better than we'll do it. But you know, it is definitely winnable. Yeah, turn 4 Tinkerbell shift, it's a grab pistol combo, it's just going to obliterate our board and kind of like slow us down from there. So yeah, that was it for the deck breakdown. Hopefully I made sense in everything. I'm going to jump to some games now and see if I can show the deck off a little bit. If you want to see any decks in particular, then just leave them in the comments and I'll get around to it. Other than that, thanks for watching. Okay, so jumping into game 1, we're going first here. So like I said, we want a good turn 1, 2, 3, so we can get rid of everything other than Simba and the Flynn. That's not bad. And then we do see a Cheshire Cat for turn 3. Or we can even go Kristoff, but I think the cat might be better. So I can definitely ink one of these tinks. I don't see a smaller tink, so there's no point in really trying to play for the turn 4 shift. Probably should have played the Simba first actually. You always want to play card draw before you make any decisions. So I don't think I'm going to need another Flynn because I've already got turn 2 play. So we'll get rid of that, and then yeah, it's not a bad start. This deck's really interesting. It's kind of like two opposites coming together to do the same kind of game plan, and it works really well. It's one of those decks that surprised me when I played it. So is the opponent using Beast Mirror? Cool, so not bad. I think we're probably going to play Hans with a Tinkerbell on turn 4, so we can get rid of this Tinkerbell now. Always just kind of keeping in mind what my best options are for each turn as they come. And then yeah, so Beast Mirror kind of suggests that we might be playing against a Sapphire ramp or a Mill deck. There's a Smash as well being inked, which is interesting. And then Prince Eric. Okay, cool. So we see our own Beast Mirror. We could probably ink this. Probably best to ink the Tink, I guess. Actually, I'm going to ink this Cheshire Cat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this Kristoff over the cat, because the Kristoff can revenge kill whatever this Eric gets rid of this turn. Yeah, so I'm going to actually keep hold of this Beast Mirror just because I have no card draw in hand, and it seems like by turn 5 I'll have nothing to play, so we can just go turn 5 Beast Mirror, draw a card. Obviously assuming that my hand is empty. So let's see what the opponent discarded there. They discarded a Genie, so it looks like they're playing a similar list. I know this deck it's picking up a lot of traction, it's getting quite popular. I think people really like the idea of kind of having like an anti-aggro deck, if you want to call it that. Okay, cool. So we can definitely ink this Tinkerbell, and then I will hit this Kristoff into this Eric, and then I'll play this Hans, And then yeah, so we're looking good. Like I say, we generate a lot of tempo very quickly. We've already got 6 quests on board. We do have a small hand size though, so it might have been worth kind of maybe mulliganing and looking for a whole new world. But this isn't too bad. We can always, if we get a cheap card, ink the Tink, set the Beast Mirror up for next turn, just to allow us to draw 2 cards a turn, which would be pretty good. But yeah, we have a very strong board already, and you'll see in a lot of games, I mean hopefully in the future games as well, that I kind of establish a very strong board very quickly. Okay, so they're going to smash hands, that's fine. And then quest with the cat, which is also fine. I don't mind racing here, so we have Kuzco, so I'm definitely going to get rid of this Tinkerbell and play Kuzco. I feel like they have nothing to really get rid of this, because they can't attack it with the cat because it'll do nothing. So we can just leave the cat sat, kind of questing. We have more quest points on the board anyway, so we can just race it for sure. If we were behind and we couldn't race, then I would have to clear it. Probably just trade a Kristoff into it. But yeah, so yeah, they're not really doing much. So what I can do is I think I probably want to play this Tinkerbell actually. So what I can do is I can ink the Tinkerbell and then play Beast Mirror and draw a card. But I think nothing I draw would be better than just playing a Tinkerbell. Yeah, so like I say, just turn your cards sideways. We've established kind of the early game like board dominance, and then you just kind of got to close the game out quickly. I don't think anything in the opponent's deck can kind of keep up or like come back from this point. So a really good display of kind of just how this deck's meant to be played. It's just good cards, honestly. You just play a bunch of good cards and they just do their thing. We've not seen any. Yeah, okay, so I grab your sword kind of like slows us down, but we still have 5 quests on board, so we'll be at 19. And the opponent's just using a lot of spells to kind of, you know, they're using a lot of spells to play on the board, whereas we could just play units on the board and then have them react to it. So it's the ball's kind of in their court to do anything really. And even if they play, they need like a grab your sword and a fire the cannon, I think, to get rid of this Hans. So they're going to need to ink and then play fire the cannon if they want a chance to win, and they don't have it. So there's a win on game 1, really good display. Let's go to game 2. Okay, so game 2 going first. Mulligan doesn't look too good. I'm going to get rid of everything other than the Duke. And then hopefully we can find a good turn 2 drop, which we don't find a 2 cost, but we have 2 1 drops, which is fine as well. So we can just go turn 1 Simba, because then we can dig a little bit deeper for that turn 2, and we have, you know, 2 Mad Hatters and a Gothel, so we could definitely discard one of those. So it doesn't look too bad. We can just play 2 free drops on for like turn 4 and it's fine too. So I'll get rid of a Mad Hatter now, and then go for Simba. Find a Simba, so I'm just going to discard that one. You could argue that you can keep it and play 2 1-drops on turn 2, but I think I kind of just prefer every other card in my hand at the moment. Especially since we only play 2 Gothel, I don't want to get rid of one of them now. So we're against Amber. So there's Stitch, which is going to unfortunately trade into our Simba quite nicely. I will get rid of a Gothel. Play a Duke, and then I'm not going to quest with the Simba just because the Stitch gets so much value if I do that. And then turn 3 we can go, I think Cat should be fine here, honestly. And then turn 4 we can do Kristoff, unless we find a 4-drop. And then turn 5 we just go straight into that Kuzco. Oh, okay, Gaston, maybe we don't want to go into the Kuzco. So we draw another unequal card, which is great. We'll get rid of this Mad Hatter just because we got Kuzco on 5. And I will play Cat, and then I'll just quest with the Duke. Because the Gaston has Reckless, it has to attack. So, you know, I don't mind trading this Duke for the Gaston. It's pretty good. We are playing as Amber Ruby, which is an interesting deck. Not seen this one much. But it seems like it could be good. It seems like people are kind of figuring out the meta a little bit now. And we're kind of experimenting a lot more with inks that don't seem like they go together but do. So yeah, this is a very interesting matchup. Okay, cool, so the Stitch trade's there, which is good. We don't want to see a turn 4 Rockstar Stitch shift. We see Ariel, doesn't find a song, so that's good for us, definitely. So we can ink this Tinkerbell and then go for this Kristoff, and then we can just quest with this cat. And I am going to quest with the Simba too. No, I'm not. There's no point. It just gets traded, especially where they can't kill the cat with the aerial, so they're going to have to use Gaston, hopefully. And then basically I just want to remove this Gaston before I play Kuzco. Okay, cool. Just because Gaston is like the perfect Kuzco counter, just trades into it perfectly. And then we can get rid of this Duke, play this Kuzco on curve, and then I can just quest with... I don't mind questing with everything here, just get the extra 1 point in. And then on the next turn I can use Genie to bounce if they shift. Because if they shift it gives them access to card draw and stuff like that, so yeah, cool. So hopefully we top deck an Inkable card and then we can go to this, or we could even just hit the Kuzco into it really. Actually, I can hit Kuzco and bounce the aerial. It does find them a song maybe, but I think that's just so good for tempo. So I'll do that. I'll hit into the Stitch and then bounce the aerial. And yeah, pretty happy with that. So we have established a lot on board with 6 points ahead. And at turn 6, we're looking pretty good. And we removed one of the biggest threats that the opponent has, presumably being the Rockstar Stitch. And they're going to go back for the aerial. The only issue with bouncing the aerial is that they might find a good song now. Which I guess they can add back the Rockstar Stitch to their hand. But should be fine. You know, Rockstar Stitch is a good card, but playing it on 6 isn't like the craziest thing ever. Especially if they use their last free ink to play the song now, then I'm feeling pretty comfortable. Let them play another aerial, which is fine, just gonna find them another song. Or be prepared, okay. Cool, so we're definitely thankful for that top deck of Beast Mirror. And then we will definitely keep this Tinkerbell. So we're expecting a Be Prepared here, which is fine, and then hopefully we can just refill the board with units after the Be Prepared. So yeah, it seems like an interesting deck from the opponent. It's like Amber Ruby kind of like song control. I know that this aerial card is definitely way better than people think it is at the moment, or like are giving it credit for. Especially in the future sets, I reckon it'll be really, really good with extra song support. But right now it's a fantastic card. So this is Be Prepared, which we saw. And then we can just go for Hans, and then we can maybe even ink this Tink and draw a card, which I think I will do. We kind of just want smaller stuff now. Okay, so we find another Tinkerbell, which is fine. So yeah, questing for free, like I say, opponent needs a lot to deal with this. Okay, cool, I'll just drop another one. Quest for free, and then I'll, like I say, ink this Tink and draw another card. And then, yeah, so we're just going to play green cards that quest for free, and that's basically the whole game plan. And then the opponent needs like another Be Prepared to get rid of all this. And they just have to react to everything that we do in this scenario. They have to just react to everything we do. And if the opponent see a question, we just react to everything they do. So we see Mulan, which is really interesting as well. So they're just going to be able to like quest for a lot. But yeah, if we go Mad Hatter and then, you know, quest for free up to 17, the Mad Hatter presents lethal. And then they kind of need like Be Prepared or Dragonfire. And yeah, like I say, they're just reacting to everything that we're doing. And we're just playing cards and questing with them basically. It will be interesting to see if Emerald gets any card draw in like the next sets, and to see how kind of like overpowered it can get. To be honest, I don't think it's overpowered now, but I think if it had card draw built in, other than like this Mad Hat, which is very situational, then yeah. So they're gonna bounce back at aerial. They didn't attack into anything. Okay, cool. So they have to Be Prepared, but you know, we could just, they have one card in hand, and we notice the aerial, so we could just play both of these. Refill the board. It's important to know that if your opponent's playing Be Prepared, you don't want to just like vomit your hand onto the board, play into it. You kind of want to hold stuff in your hand to refill your board once they use it. So they find another one, but they don't have any ink for it. So there's a win on game 2. Nice. Okay, so third and final game, going first again, we love to see it. So we've got Simba, we've got Cheshire Cat. So I'll get rid of everything other than those two. And then we're kind of just looking for a 2-drop, or even 2 Dukes, fine. We do find the big Tinkerbell, and it's important to note that you can shift into the giant fairy from the Emerald Tinkerbell. But I don't think there's going to be many cases where you want to do that, but it can come up for sure. So I'm going to actually ink this big Tink now. Yeah, I'll ink this big Tink now, and then I'll go into a Simba and see what I get. Hopefully a 2-drop. Nope, so we're just going to get rid of that. Our hand's already kind of like determined for the next couple of turns, provided that we draw inkable cards. And then once our hand's kind of empty, we can just go for a whole new world. So there's a Maleficent from the opponent, so I'm going to assume it's Amethyst Ruby just because it's the most popular. So I'm going to try and go very fast. You want to go very fast and wide. Well, I say wide, but you want to be mindful of be prepared. So you want to go kind of like wide early and let the play units trade into it, and then you kind of want to play quite like reserved while they have the threat of be prepared. So yeah, we're against Amethyst Ruby control, so our plan is just to go very fast basically. With Whole New World we can totally do that because we don't mind giving them 7 new cards because you know, they have a lot of card draw, so they're probably going to have 7 or more cards in their hand anyway at that point. But we'll see when we get there basically. If they've got like 1 card in hand and they're really struggling, then I'm just not going to use it. But if they have a healthy hand and they're getting close to their threats, then we'll let it rip. Cool, I do definitely prefer this Hans to the Tinkerbell. Play Cat and then I'll just quest for free. And then turn 4 we can go Hans, turn 5 we can just Whole New World. So Amethyst Ruby is really interesting. It's kind of arguable right now if it's tier 1 or tier 0, you see arguments for both. It's kind of a deck I've been like avoiding playing because I'm kind of like, I don't like playing the tier 1 deck, I like kind of beating the tier 1 deck a lot of the time. But it seems like the mirror matches are very techy, really interesting actually. So yeah, definitely something that I'm gonna try out at some point. So they play Rafiki, which is kind of like the big card in this matchup. And then I think I will just hit the Simba into the Rafiki, and we missed the inkable card, which is actually devastating for us. But I will quest with this, and I will ink this Hans just because we need to get to this Whole New World. Top decking a second one there is just awful for us. If there's anything else, like if there's like anything inkable, then we're in a really good spot at this point. We're still not in an awful spot at all, but I think the Rafiki into the missing ink was a killer there. Inking Gaston is good. If they played some Gastons, we'd be in a bad spot. Yeah, the Elsa is really bad for us as well. So they have a lot of the anti-control cards. They are only playing 60 cards though, so that's good. Normally you see this deck play 67 cards if they have all the like anti-aggro stuff in it, which is really interesting. I don't think there's a limit on how many cards you can have in your deck. Obviously you don't want to play too many, but yeah. So we see Tink. I guess I kind of have to use Whole New World here. Okay, cool. So we can go double Kuzco is really good. So I'll definitely do that. So I'll quest with the Cat whenever it kind of buffers. Yep. I'll quest with Cat, and then double Kuzco gets me 6. So that'll get me to 14. And then I just kind of need to find 6 quests out of nowhere really. Opponent's not close to be prepared yet. I mean, like 2 turns is kind of fine, but yeah, especially if they don't play a unit here, we're looking really good. So I'm hoping they don't. Or I can even go Kuzco into Mother Knows Best and then wait for a Be Prepared and then just play the second Kuzco after that. Okay, cool, so we can go Kuzco, we can probably ink this Tinkerbell, probably the least useful card at the moment. I'll play the Simba just to kind of dig a bit deeper. We find Genie, which is really good, so we can get rid of maybe this Tink. Yeah, so now we can just be annoying and bounce cards and play Kuzcos, and that should get us there. Don't want to overcommit though, because they will be at 7 the turn after our next one. So it's also worth noting, do I want to bounce a card and then let them be prepared to come with it? I'm essentially saving the card, but then if I bounce the card, I force them to play be prepared. So that's fine. And then I'm going to draw a card. Okay, cool. So they have a very healthy hand size. Obviously, we have just used Horny World on them, but yeah, so we can kind of assume they've got to be prepared. We didn't discard any. We did discard the Dragonfire, which is okay. And they're gonna ready Elsa. Okay, so we've definitely fallen behind here against Ruby Amethyst, which is, you know, a given. They haven't inked a card, so we're not under any threat of be prepared just yet. So I'm gonna quest and play a Hans and a Flynn, and then I'm kind of baiting a be prepared. So they're either gonna like Dragonfire the Hans or play a be prepared, but then as soon as they play be prepared, we can just go Kuzco into Genie into bounce, and then that should buy us maybe 6 or 8 quest, which at this point would be like almost lethal. Okay, so there's Maui. So there's lots of control from the opponent. I might even bounce this Elsa. So they do have 7, so we are in range of be prepared, but I think they would have used it there if they had it. Genie does have evasive actually, so I'm gonna play the cat and then I'm gonna bounce the Elsa. So how much will this get me to? If I quest for 2, I'll get 13. Yeah, so I'm gonna bounce this Elsa. And then quest, just because the Elsa just allows them to just clear the board for free. It's just really strong. It's just a really strong free drop, especially against the aggro matchup. It just kind of like gives you so much agency. I am, like I say, holding kind of these big cards to play around and be prepared. I don't think they have it at the moment though, but I just don't want to walk into it. And then what did they discard? I think they discarded something. No, nothing here, so nothing here is important, so we're fine. They're going to ink Elsa, then maybe go back into like a bigger Elsa, like an 8-cost one. Cool, they're just going to Dragonfire that, which is fine. They're kind of running out of steam. They've not set up any card draw, so we're looking quite solid there. There's an Aladdin, which is fine. So we can go Kuzco for sure. And then there's no point in inking really. I think even going 7 ink was quite greedy actually on my part. Obviously if you go to like 8 ink you can play Cheshire and Kuzco, it's fine. So they're going to play the big Elsa, which can't exert our Kuzco because they can't choose it. So that's just the power of Kuzco and the keyword ward really coming in there. But they are questing for a lot now. They also quest for free as well, which is crazy. It buys you so much, like, it gives you so much tempo, especially at like turn 8 when your opponent plays like 2 big cards. But you know, Kuzco should get us to 15. And then hopefully they don't have a shift Aladdin in hand. I'm thinking of what I want to bounce. I probably will bounce the Aladdin personally. I think that's the best option. Okay, cool, so we see a big Tink. If I go big Tink, it does get rid of the Maui. So I'll do that just to get rid of the Maui. And then if they shift into the bigger Aladdin here, I'm actually fine with it because the Kuzco will just trade it back. Yeah, okay, so the Kuzco is just going to trade it back, which is fine. We do lose 2 lore, but we gain 1, I guess, in the process with the Kuzco. So that's fine. we're in quite a scary spot, I'll be honest, but nothing that we can't handle. Opponent's going to draw some cards, so we're looking good. They haven't set up any magic mirrors or anything like that, so we can actually... Good Cheshire Tinkerbell. Yeah, I think playing both of these is fine here. And then thinking if I want to attack and kind of get rid of some of the stuff on the opponent's board. But I think it's just better for us in this position to just try to win the game, basically. I feel like we're so late on that we need to just close the game up really quickly before they can win. They can quest to 19, but I don't think that will change much. Especially if they just quested everything here, I think we're in a really bad spot. But you know, we got quite close against the best deck in the game, so not too bad. Okay, and there's a Maui, so that will definitely just secure it for our opponent, which is a shame. But I think we could have done some things differently there. It's definitely worth watching it back on my part and seeing if there was anything we could have improved on. But yeah, I think getting to 17, and then we lost 2 off of the allowance, so we quested for 19 that game, so it's not too bad. Maybe I could have played it a little bit differently, but I'm going to go ahead and concede this one. And that was it for the third game. Hopefully I showed the deck off quite nicely. If you want to try it out, there will be a link to the deck in the description where you can export it into Pixelborn and stuff like that. So let me know what you thought, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.